Mythic Dungeon updates for Week 3, where we dive deep into the latest updates that are shaking up your runs. This week, we got some changes if you're looking to run Grim Battle, navigating the Siege of Boralus, or dealing with those brutal Mythic Plus affixes. From boss nerfs to spell changes, Blizzard's making sure you feel every tweak in your dungeon crawl. Ready to find out how these changes are going to impact your week in Azeroth? Well, let's start out with the affixes for this week. Xalathar's Bargain, Voidbound. While in combat, Xalathar summons a Void Emissary to empower nearby enemies with Dark Prayer. For any mob that has this cast on them, it will reduce their damage taken by 10% every 3 seconds. This effect stacks. Upon defeating the Void Emissary, players will net themselves a 50% ability cooldown rate and a 50% healing taken increased that lasts for 20 seconds. Tyrannical. Bosses have 25% more health. Bosses and their minions inflict up to 15% increased damage. Challenger's Peril. Dying subtracts 15 seconds from the time remaining. Fortified Affix. Non-boss enemies have 20% more health and inflict up to 20% increased damage. This affix is only applicable to key levels 10 and above. Let's head into Mythic Plus updates. First of all, we got a quality of life update for Xalathar's Bargain Voidbound. The Voidbound aura description has been updated to accurately reflect the cooldown reduction it grants, ensuring clarity for players who benefit from this powerful affix. Next up, we have Grim Patrol for Darga Shadowburner's ability Twilight Wind. Improved visibility of this mechanic to make it easier to avoid. Movement speed of Twilight Wind has been reduced by 15% for better player response time. The movement speed reduction inside the Twilight Wind area has been reduced to 10%, making it less punishing for players caught in it. Fixed an issue where players could be hit multiple times by Twilight Wind, resolving frustrating moments during the encounter. Mutated Hatchling. Melee damage has been reduced by 66%. Its melee attacks can no longer critically strike, reducing its threat to tanks and melee players. Valiona. Valiona's health has been reduced by 13%, making the fight slightly easier for the groups. Eurodux. Abyssal Corruption now targets 2 players instead of 3, lowering the pressure on healers during this encounter. Twilight Lavabender. Scorching Heat damage has been reduced by 25%, reducing the overall damage intake for the party during the fight. Mists of Tirana's Scythe. Fixed an issue where volatile acid could not be removed by magic immunities, allowing players to cleanse this debuff as intended. Siege of Boralus. Screamshaw Gather no longer flees at low health, allowing players to finish them off more easily during combat. Chopper Red Hook. Players now gain a brief immunity to Irontide's Cleaver's Heavy Slash after being hit by Iron Hook, offering some reprieve during this challenging fight. Irontide Raider and Ashvane Commander. Timings of Iron Hook and Azerite Charge have been adjusted, creating a more predictable pattern for players to encounter. We also got some quality of life updates. For Affixes, Xalathar's Bargain now affects the cooldown of additional spells. Grim Patrol addressed an issue where Darga Shadowburner's encounter can reset unexpectedly. The Dawnbreaker addressed an issue where Void Emissionary can cause Speaker's Shadow Crown to reset. And Siege of Boralus addressed an issue where Dread Captain Lockwood can have second wave of ads spawned during the intermission. And that's it for this week's Mythic Dungeon news. If you enjoyed this video and want to stay up to date with all things Mythic Plus, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment if you have any questions. Until next week, good luck in your dungeons and may your loot be dropped. Peace.